Once upon a time in the land of Titania, there lived two princesses who loved to play together in the Black Forest. Yeah, that kind of sounds dodgy, but okay. One day, after coming down from a bowling trip in the forest, they discovered a most mysterious sight. It was a cake growing out of the ground. Cake! Fuck yeah! With no self-control instilled in them and some extremely addictive personalities, the princesses could not resist giving the cake a taste. The princesses were instantly overwhelmed by the intense deliciousness of the cake. One bite became another, and then a whole slice, and soon the princesses reached the peak performance levels. Yeah, that cake had to be laced with something because they are acting weirder then. My wife with a cheesecake. When the princesses failed to return home, the kings became worried. They sent search parties to the Black Forest to find the princesses, and what they ended up finding shocked them to the core. The princesses looked like they were going to explode. After returning to their castles, the kings agreed that the mysterious cake was cursed and had to be banned. With that, the great cake prohibition of the day started. Not even a full day later, the king discovered the worst. The princess has become so addicted to the cursed cake that she can't be satisfied unless she fills her mouth with a big, huge, delicious, thick slice of forest cake. Breaking his own rules, the king sent his men to the forest to get as much cake as they could find in order to enable his princess's addictions. Months passed with nothing changing. The princess remained addicted to the cake while the king kept enabling her. Then one day, a letter came from a neighboring kingdom. Huzzah! Cried the king. It was a letter from Prince Albert stating that he would be coming to choose a bride. Once he kisses the princess, her addiction will be cured, claimed the king. The king was happy until his servant asked, what if the prince chooses the other kingdom's princess? That night, the king sent out a group of servants to go kidnap the neighboring kingdom's princess and hide her in the dungeon until after Prince Albert marries the king's daughter. His men set out on a successful journey that night, but much to his despair, the next morning the king discovered that the neighboring kingdom had the same idea and also stole his daughter. The king was so angry that he decided to declare war against the neighboring kingdom, so a great war filled with bloodshed and loss of countless innocent lives began. So, basically, Fat Princess is a capture the flag game, but instead of a flag, you use a cake-addicted princess that you can feed cake in order to make her stronger and more difficult to steal. You start off as a normal villager that can move really quickly and slap opponents, but you only have 2 hearts. You can equip different hats in order to take on different roles and gain more hearts. I'm a boy now! Classes include workers who can collect resources and upgrade or fix structures, warriors who have sword and shield and are good with close range combat, rangers who can attack from further away with a bow, wizards who shoot fireballs and can set enemies on fire, and priests that can heal teammates. Each role is equally important in the war and serves their own purpose, but builders are essential to any team. Each role can be upgraded by gathering enough resources and using the worker to upgrade in different hat machines. Upgrading the hat machines grant each class new abilities and weapons. The warrior drops his sword and shield and instead goes for a spear. The ranger swaps out his bow for a gun. Builders get bombs. The wizard gains new ice powers that can slow enemies, and the priest becomes a dark priest that steals enemy health instead. After a class has been upgraded, you can still swap between the new and old forms. Now I am a man. This allows you to use both abilities in combat, making the builder a strong attacker and turning the priest into both a healer and an attacker. There are 3 additional classes that can be unlocked by purchasing DLC, and they give you an unfair advantage. These classes are the ninja, who can turn invisible and walk through enemy gates. The pirate, who has a sword and a gun, can allocate places to launch bombs, and the giant, who is big and eats people. This game is a good example of the wrong type of content to release as a DLC, as it makes the battlefield feel a bit uneven. This type of content should have been released as a free update, seeing as this is a competitive online game, and they should have rather added more story related content as paid DLC. Yeah, ask me. I'm an expert in stuff. During a match, you need to work together with your team to capture outposts, slay tons of enemies, steal the enemy's princess, and bring her back to your base. If you take damage, you can just relax somewhere out the enemy's sight and eat some cake to recover your health. Like this! You can make your character look unique by customizing it with a few given hairstyles, hair color, beards, eye color, and skin colors. There aren't that many choices for customization, and I learned that I'm apricot. But even so, it is still nice to have the option included to easier spot yourself in all the chaos. If you're feeling competitive, then play with others or online mode is where the fun lies. There are different modes to compete in, such as Rescue the Princess, which is the classic capture the flag game. In Rescue the Princess, the two teams start the match with each other's princesses in their dungeon. The teams need to rescue their own princesses and return her to the throne while holding the opposing team's princess happy with lots and lots of cake. If a team manages to have their princess on her throne and the opposing team's princess in the dungeon for 30 seconds, they win the match. This mode requires the most teamwork, as going at it alone will just lead to more genocide than needed. Then there's a snatch and grab, where both teams start off with their princesses in their respective castles and have to try to steal the enemy's princess. When the enemy's princess gets successfully thrown in your dungeon, she respawns in her castle. If you manage to successfully kidnap her 3 times, you win. Yay! If you're not into kidnapping, then there is a capture the outpost mode called Invasion. In this mode, the soldiers get cured of their simping ways and instead need to try and capture and hold different outposts across the map. Capturing an outpost is as easy as standing next to it, and the more players there are at the outpost, the faster it gets captured. Each team starts off with a certain number of morale points. If you manage to capture more than half the outposts, the opposing team's morale points start counting down. If you manage to get their morale to 0, you win the match. Next, we have Fun Mode, or as the game calls it, Team Deathmatch. In a team deathmatch, your team has a certain amount of lives, and each time a teammate dies, your team loses a life. If you manage to reduce the enemy's lives to 0, your team is victorious. Very simple, but loads of chaos and fun. And finally, there's FIFA. Queen's Rule is a special mode linked to the soccer map, and when the map is selected, it will automatically switch to this mode. In this mode, there are no hat machines, there is also no princess, so you can get down to what's important, hanging with the boys. And murder. A fuck ton of it. The objective, like with any other soccer match, is to get the ball into the opposing team's goalpost and to murder them while doing so. The ball doesn't control too well, and AI players can be tough to work with, but it is still loads of chaotic fun. Like normal FIFA, the team with the most goals at the end of the match reigns victorious. If all the murder in the game bothers you, then there is an option where you can turn off all the blood and instead have candy burst out of the opponents when killing them. Like a weirdo. And you're not a weirdo, right? With so many different modes to love, there is sure to be one that you can enjoy. Matches usually consist of 2 teams of 16 players, which equals to 32 players. Now that's quick math. Unfortunately, in this day and age, finding an online match can be tricky, or might not even be possible at times, but at least you can still play with yourself. In solo mode, you can still play all the same modes as online, with the difference that teams get filled with bots. This can sometimes make reaching the objective more difficult than online modes, as the AI can be pretty dumb at times and difficult to command. It still offers you the opportunity to practice and experience the game, and you can even have some friends join in by connecting an extra controller. There is also a mode called Gladiate, which, if you couldn't guess, it is a gladiator style mode that puts you in an arena setting. You start off by choosing a class, and then you need to try and last for 12 rounds, facing off against waves of enemies increasing in number and toughness in each round. There is not much to this mode, but it is a fun and challenging virginity score chaser. What's this? Fistful of Cake is a PSP version of Fat Princess. It is toned down in some ways, but elevated in others. It offers the same game mode as well as same gameplay mechanics from the original PlayStation 3 version. The part that changes the most is that instead of 16 versus 16 matches, you now partake in 8 versus 8 matches, where up to 4 players per team can be human players. Math! What it lacks in multiplayer, it makes up for with a bigger and better storyline. The story gets expanded from 7 chapters to more than 7 chapters, and also introduces the new forest Arlos that guard the cake. I don't know, man. Are you sure that they're not just Pokemon? The extended storyline does feel a bit repetitive at times, but still manages to keep things light-hearted and humorous like the original did. Apart from the extended story, there are now also 4 new modes to have fun and annihilate in. These new modes include Dilapidation, a mode that starts with all the hat machines broken except for the worker's hat machine. You then have to gather resources and repair your hat machines before the enemy team repairs theirs. Getting your hat machines working as quickly as possible is key to winning this mode. Once you manage to repair your machines, the rest of the match plays the same as a normal Rescue the Princess match. Demolition, a mode where you need to escort a bomb to the enemy's throne and try to keep it there for 5 seconds in order to be victorious. Enemies can steal your bomb and throw it away, making protecting the bomb an important aspect in this mode. Just don't get blown up yourself. And then there is Jailbreak. In this mode, I have no idea what actually makes this mode different from the normal invasion mode. The outposts change the way they look and no longer allow you to climb them. You need to capture outposts to gain points and make the opposing team lose points. You can steal the princess. I'm pretty sure this mode was created just so that they can say there are 4 new modes instead of just 3. And finally, the most fun you can have with your pants on is Grim Reaper mode. In this mode, you play free-for-all on the special Undertaker map. A grey warrior helmet spawns in the middle of the map and everyone needs to race to see who can get it first. Once you obtain the helmet, you gain the Grim Reaper powers and need to eliminate enemies to collect their souls while trying to survive their onslaught. If you die as the Grim Reaper, the hat respawns somewhere else on the map and can once again be obtained by anyone. Collect the most souls and you win. This is my favorite new mode and feels the most unique as opposed to the copy-paste new tower approach of Jailbreak. What? When you look at it all, apart from less players in a match, Fistful of Cake feels more like an upgrade than a downgrade, which is pretty cool. It is sad that the online in these 2 games are no longer available or really difficult to access, as in the end most of the fun lies with having characters that can think for themselves and pull off different strategies as opposed to the hopeless AI that run into lava and are difficult to command. The game's story has a happy conclusion. Well, kind of. In the end, Prince Albert arrives to meet Princess Chungus and they immediately fall in love, when the curse of the cake is not broken. The king learns that there is no curse and that the cake is just really delicious. Meaning the countless lives lost in the war was for nothing. Princess Chungus and Prince Albert get married and everyone is happy and more cake. At this point you might be wondering why I'm talking about such an old game. Well, it's for selfish reasons. I would really love to see this game get ported or remastered or remade or something like that for modern consoles. It is an awesome experience with lots of personality. Bringing back the online and balancing some classes can once again breathe new life into this game. Even though it is a Sony licensed game, a platform like the Switch will suit it perfectly and make everyone realize that cake is good for you. The game's balancing might have been slightly off at times and the AI was terrible, but it can easily be fixed somehow. After having so much fun replaying this game, I want to see it come back to life even more. Maybe even a sequel would be awesome. No!